Welcome to the Rock's Back Pages podcast. I'm Barney Hoskins and I'm in an unusually sunny Hammersmith with my RBP colleagues Mark Pringle.
Hi Barney.
And Jasper Mirison Bowie.
Hello Barney.
And joining us for this episode to discuss all that's new in the world's largest archive of music journalism is the excellent Simon Day. Welcome, Simon.
Hello everybody.
Simon needs no introduction to fans of the beloved Fast Show or indeed of his prog'n'roll alter ego Brian Pern. We'll be discussing those in a bit. We'll also be listening to clips from an audio interview with Steely Dan, of whom Simon has professed himself to be a die-hard fan. I hope that's true.
That is the truth.
We are all die-hard fans, so that should be fun to listen to and discuss. First off, though, we want to know about your sort of formative musical experiences, your initiation into popular music.
Well, my initiation into popular music would be via my brother, who was a year older than me, and he bought records. And he would go to the record shop and buy lots of records, and he was one of those kids that managed to sort of get the money together, and he had lots of he had all the 70s classics, Roxy Music, Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, and we used to listen to all them.
Yeah. And
then he started buying punk singles from Blackheath Records, where Danny Baker also used to get his.
Right,
and
another local hero.
Exactly. Yeah. And he would come home with a sort of 4 different coloured vinyls of a Joy Division record or Generation X. So I gave up. I didn't buy any records. There's no point competing with him. I just listened to his. But yes, the Blackheath then was very... Squeeze were sort of in their pomp. They had started and sort of there was a massive pub rock scene, which sort of dominated the whole area, really. And then you had a pub called Bricklayer's Arms and a guy called Harry, I forget his second name. He had a bar called Harry's Bar, which had the classic sort of good jukebox, they used to call them, which would attract, lots of different people. I mean, I don't know if young people sort of know this, but you used to have a pubs would have a good jukebox and people would go for the music and have Can on it and you'd have, On the Road Again and a bit of new wave and a bit of reggae and some, Steel Pulse or whatever, and it would make for a much sort of more interesting evening.
Yeah. So even in Blackheath, you had. Did you say you can or canned heat?
Can.
He meant you can.
Yeah,
I was going to say can and heat.
Well, those sort of cool bands,
Yeah.
And then in Deptford, which was just at the bottom of Blackheath, you had the Albany Empire, and that always had bands on. And so you'd go down there one week, Squeeze would be playing, and 9 Below Zero, or Steel Pulse, or Blockheads, or whoever.
Yes,
I saw ATV play there.
Did you?
Yeah.
ATV. He was from just up the road there, wasn't he? And of course, Dire Straits. There was the Crossfields Festival also, which was always the highlight. Was Dire Straits? They would come on and do 2 hours.
Okay.
On a Sunday night, and one year they weren't there, and everyone said, "Where are they?" Well, where are Dire Straits this year?
Playing Wembley
Stadium. They've gone to #1 in Australia. Because apparently they had a big hit in Australia first.
Okay.
And they weren't there, and everyone was sort of grieving into their sort of handkerchiefs, and that's it now, they've left us.
You mentioned Danny Baker. Did you know Danny on that
Never met him.
Okay.
I've got to know him, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're kind of opposites in a lot of ways, as most people are with him, because he's so cheerful. But he's an odd one, because as John Cooper Clarke says, he was there. And it's strange, isn't it? Because he is quite a Zelig figure in terms of music.
Yeah. I mean, going from sniffing glue to writing about disco and the NME was an interesting leap.
Yeah, even on the cover of Sniffing Glue, there's a cover with him and Mark P and the other guy who always gets left out of the story. And Mark P's got a kind of, punk haircut. Not like a mohawk.
No, but short.
But Danny's still got this sort of
he's
blow-dried sort of disco hair.
What I can't work out is I've often thought, how was he never in a band? Because, I mean, he's always been on telly and wanted to be a presenter and all that, but he never actually seemed to join a band or be in a band, I don't believe. All you Danny Baker enthusiasts out there would like to dig up.
Some people I guess just don't want to be in bands, and
maybe they don't have an iota of musical talent in there.
Well,
that's me.
They have a lot of musical appreciation, but not necessarily any ability. But you were in a band.
I was in a band with my mates. We were called Simon and the Virgins. Of course. I was the lead singer because I couldn't do anything else.
Was that in order to sort of encourage the undoing of this particular attribute?
That was the idea. That was definitely in the back of my mind.
You were the lead singer. I sort of assumed.
Yeah, I've got some great band shots of me with a sort of little. I've shot up in height, but I've got a little round, sort of chubby face, and I'm wearing Dr. Martens and a suit jacket from a charity shop and jeans, as everyone wore in those days. And we wrote a couple of songs, and there was loads of bands to support, because there were so many pub bands. We did support quite a few bands, but I didn't practice or turn up, and I was also just sort of going off the rails at that point in terms of addiction. So addiction, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. I'm doing a podcast about ADHD soon. So
straight after this.
Yeah. I remember that happened. So they sort of elbowed me. And there was a period of time where I would sit in a pub at the age of 17 going, I was in a band, because the drummer, Nigel Preston, who's very sadly passed away, he was a very beautiful looking kid, lovely looking. He played with Southern Death Cult and various bands.
Okay.
And Seamus just went off to be a sort of muso type guy. He played with Madness and he played with Jimmy Cliff, and the bass player toured with Jimmy Cliff and all that. So I had this sort of story ready at 17, 18 where I'd missed the boat. Right. And I also remember not learning to play the guitar and thinking, you're too old now. You're 16. There's no point.
Too old. 16.
But yeah, I was a new waver. I could never sort of commit to the full punk thing. So I would wear, and I remember this funny story, I had 15-hole Dr. Martens, painted cherry red, with sort of white trousers with safety pins, and Fred Perry. And the other band that were huge, that we all went to see as much as possible, was Dr. Feelgood, of course.
Right.
Who were they were just the best. But I saw them with Mick DeVille, and I had a basin haircut, so I had this outfit, basin haircut, white shirt, 15-hole Dr. Martens. As I said in my book, I'm like a junior Morris dancer. And I sort of proudly got on the tube and went off. To see Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah.
Walked into this venue, and this bloke came up and said, "You're fine, mate." Something like that, and hit me immediately. It was like, those days when there was a sort of undercurrent of violence. But I sort of tried to hide them for the rest of the night. But Feelgood I saw about 5 times, and they were the band everyone sort of wanted to be. They were the live band.
Yeah.
I mean, Welland used to love them.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were a lot more influential than people sort of give credit for, really, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to keep popping up on our podcast.
They do,
Name check.
Darryl Easley.
Darryl Easley was very, very good on the field.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see the Wilco version of the band twice.
Yeah, I saw them once, Wilco.
Yeah. They were electrifying.
Absolutely
just
phenomenal kind of character.
Yeah, they didn't have any kind of sort of uniform or anything, did they? They were sort of 4 completely different people who once they left the building, you would never have put them together.
No, exactly. I love bands like that.
Yeah, they were a fascinating band.
You mentioned Squeeze, I mean, who obviously weren't a punk band, but were sort of,
new wave.
They were more like an archetypal band.
Really. I mean,
Glenn was more like he sang and played the guitar. And
very melodic kind of stuff that Glenn particularly wrote, didn't he? I mean, they're very different songwriters, weren't they, the two of them?
But it was very much about songwriting.
Yes,
I mean, that was absolutely central to what they did.
Yes, and wrote some, very decent songs. And you'd like follow them around, or you'd see them locally.
They were always playing. They played in pubs,
yeah.
and they played at the Albany all the time. And definitely, Christopher's lyrics were they were influential to me in ways. He sort of spoke in a sort of urban language. Those little stories, a bit like Ian Jury's,
Yeah.
Like some of the characters I do, they were sort of, they were brilliant.
And meanwhile at the station there's a couple of likely lads who swear like as your father, and they're very cool for cats, they're cool for cats. change the mood a little. I've been posting down the pub. I'm seeing my reflection. I'm looking slightly.
That's interesting. The influenced characters that you created, and when did some? I mean, you sort of you talk about the rails, you're going off them. And how did that relate to your becoming a stand-up comedian?
Well, I was off them for a very long time. And so someone managed to drag me back onto them, and I was very lucky because Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer sort of moved into the area near where I lived. And they began to write comedy. It all sort of came together, and Jules Holland had a recording studio, and they wrote above there. And they were they used to drive motorbikes around together and wear leather jackets. And my mate had a fireplace shop, and he said, look, you should write some material, you're funny, and do it on one of Jim's nights and see what happens. That's literally what happened. Plus Malcolm Hardy had his comedy club up the creek, and that was a sort of cultural also
in that part of the world.
Which is literally right next door.
Deptford Creek.
Deptford Creek.
In the creek. Right.
Yeah,
Perfect.
Creek. So there was always a sort of cultural sort of underpinning there.
So now the centre of improvised music.
Now it's...
Yes.
What were the first characters that you created? Was Tommy Cockles one of the early ones?
Tommy was one of the first.
Yeah.
And the reason that we stuck at him was that I was in the Hackney Empire New Act of the Year, and the final was actually in a musical, going to be in a musical. So as I started getting closer to doing that, I thought, well, because my first set, I did Robert De Niro sort of talking about sweets, and I did an American guy, and I did, I did a crusty, but he seemed to be quite fully formed, Tommy Cockles. Yes. People seemed to get it. They seemed to like him, and as I got more confident in him as a character, the further it went along, because people like sort of guessing, what was he, who did he know? Oh, I know a bloke just like that. That's always great when you're doing a character. I know a bloke just like that. Once you've had a few of those, that gives you the confidence to carry on with it.
I mean, it's interesting talking to you about music, because that kind of new comedy that came out at that time was very intertwined with music in many ways, wasn't it? I mean, like Charlie Higson, who you worked with on the Fast Show, and
we've just done the tour, and
had been in, the Higsons, obviously.
Yeah,
which I remember.
We've just done the tour, and the tour is partly talking about how we got together and how we met up, and he very proudly displays their poster of him wearing makeup, him and Paul Whitehouse wearing makeup. And Paul goes, you came up with a catchphrase for yourself. No, you came up with a name for yourself, didn't you, Charlie? You called yourself Switch in order to meet more girls. Just, Switch. I know, but that's very Charlie, though. And so he goes, well, it's the sort of thing you do, isn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, I think everyone at that age wanted to be in bands. You didn't, if you were creative, you were in a band.
Yes.
People didn't really, that I knew, didn't say I'm going to be an actor. They sat around and listened to music, and then they went out and sort of tried to make music. Now, with comedy, I think you get a lot of people thinking I'm going to be a comedian. I don't have to give anyone else any money, and I can just write a show. If I've got an idea, I can just write a show and present it. I think it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
We were all obsessed with music, and that was the sum total of our lives, was getting an album and listening to it sort of late at night.
Yes.
Sitting around and speakers and amps, and which leads me on to a Steely Dan thing, which I'll talk about later when you mention Steely Dan. Okay. How I became a Steely Dan character. I think I deserve
save that for later. That would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I do want to ask you, I know we're here really to talk about music, but the idea for me of being a stand-up comedian would be the most terrifying thing in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
So you either want to be a stand-up comedian, or the very notion of it would be terrifying.
Yeah.
And the larger the venue, the more terrifying it is, because it's just you, right? And everything just hangs on you. So I'm just fascinated to know how you experience that.
It is like that, and that thing, Baby Reindeer, that I've been watching on and off, that part of it, I've said to my missus, I find it really depressing. She goes, well, all the stuff about, I say, no, the stuff about the comedy, and arriving at the venue, and it's just you like having worked just on a Fast Show tour was just blissful because I wasn't on my own. I was with loads of people. We had a coach, and we had, you know, transport back from the venues, and we stayed in hotels.
Yes.
When it is just you, I don't know. I sort of didn't really have any. I had nowhere else to go. I was 29. I didn't have any career of any sort, and I'd always been a bit funny. You know, I'd always wanted to do something like that, be an actor or comedy, and I would think of comedic stuff, and I would think of characters. And thanks to a guy called Mark Swan, I managed to write it all down and do it, and it was successful very quickly. I think that was one of the reasons I'm still here now, was that it caught on very quickly. Although a lot of the time people didn't get Tommy, they were just like, you know, is it just an old man? I don't really understand it. I was lucky to have Jim and Bob, you know, saying, "Oh, he's great, he's smart." You know, they were brilliant actually.
Right.
In helping people, and they are. You know,
So when you perform on your own, even, you know, these days, is there a moment of kind of terror as you walk on? Do you think this night I'm not going to win the
having just
moment?
done the Fast Show tour and everything from the amount of time I'm on stage and the amount of you know, appreciation you get for the short 7 minutes that you do. When I tour on my own, I'm doing like an hour and 40 minutes. I'm in a little car. I forgot my costumes hanging up and a sort of bag of Skittles. You know, and I sort of motor around the country, and I get how many's in 111. You know, and listen, I'm not complaining. It's still a brilliant life, but it's hard work, you know, and you are on your own. And but it's a very complicated thing. The more you know, if you add another person to the mix, you've then got to get bigger venues, and then you've got to advertise more, and that costs. So it becomes a bit sort of like to actually earn money from it. It becomes difficult to do unless you sort of spend a lot of money on advertising and so forth.
Where did the urge to create characters come from?
Well, I always watched a lot of TV with my dad, and I always loved the characters. I don't know why. I grew up watching characters. You know, Porridge, Dad's Army. Monty Python was kind of the gun which sort of fired where everyone went off. You know, all the different strands of comedy sort of went off. But I think for me, you were bombarded with brilliant characters growing up. There was just so many of them. The Lightly Lads. You know, there was just so many different comedy characters. That's how I can put it, really. As I grew up, that I watched on telly. You know, I mean, Morecambe and Wise, obviously, I thought they were brilliant too. But for me, something like Porridge and Hancock and all those things, they're just so well drawn, and they're so, you know, you're right in there with the people, aren't you?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I mean, there's less and less of it, of course. And Fools and Horses, you know, all that stuff. I mean, it's very South East London too.
Yes.
Obviously. But Trigger and things like that. Him calling him Dave all the time. And that's very South East London. And the guy John Sullivan who wrote that, you know, when you consider he wrote all that on his own too, that's incredible. I don't know, I've just always liked characters, and I prefer being in character than just being myself. I suppose as myself, I feel I've got less, because everyone keeps saying, do you tour on your own and take the wig off, it's time you did your own tour. And when I did, I felt like I had less to sort of offer.
Do you feel sort of naked?
Yeah, I felt more naked.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I suppose having characters also gives you company if you're solo. You've got someone to talk to.
You're not alone with a schizophrenic.
And if it goes wrong, it's their fault, not yours.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a row with your characters afterwards in the car?
No, not at that stage yet. Not like Magic with Tony Hopkins when he's rowing with his puppet. That's when you really are in trouble.
Well, talking of characters, you know, Brian Pern obviously is one of your great characters, and you know, I mean, I know a little about the sort of the birth of Brian, but tell us how you so how far do you go back with Rhys Thomas, and how did the idea of Brian come about?
He used to work on the Fast Show.
Yes,
he was working as a runner on the Fast Show, and he always loved comedy, and he sort of knows his comedy. And he's also he's one of those people that you have an idea and he'll sit down, dress it up, write it, do it, and he'll be there by Monday, done Monday morning, ready to go. And he finds me really funny, and we sort of both work very well in that way. And he we both get obsessed with different comedies, but you know, he sort of was obsessed with Peter Gabriel and the fact that I could do his voice, and he started saying to me, "Look, you've got to watch these things Peter Gabriel's been doing." I said, "Why?" They're called the Full Moon excerpts or whatever, and it really was like the record company had gone, "Brian, you know, we've got this big audience out there for you to talk to, all your fans. You haven't got to say a lot. Just get out there and say a bit about what you're doing and what you're up to at the moment."
I like that you just called him Brian.
Did I?
Yeah.
I said, well, Peter. Oh God!
Don't ask us to edit that out. No.
Yeah, and so I did start watching them, and it was really sort of, he's so shy, and people say, what you know, what's it about this? And he said, well, the idea for us is the opposite of Keith Richards. It's you know, these very intelligent sort of public school rock stars who were not sort of drugs and were all right, love and leather jackets and you know, whatever. And he is the sort of king of it. And you suddenly cut to, you know, there he was, Peter Gabriel, and he'd go, "Hello, I'm here in Stockholm, and we're just setting up some of the equipment for the Bright Side show tonight. It's going to be great." And you know, he's just really not good at sort of selling it.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
But you just think, oh, what a lovely guy. And he is a lovely guy. He is a serious musician. He is that person, you know. He's not glib in any way.
No.
And we
it's
thought
perfect target for comedy.
No, we thought that might really work, you know, to have someone with all the things happening around him, and him just being very insular, emotionally insular, and not really being like, he has the sort of young girlfriend and all these things happening, but he can't deal with any of it.
Those are I have to say, Lucy Montgomery's.
She's brilliant. Yeah.
I think my favourite of many moments in Brian Pern, because they are just hysterical. Your reactions to her insane, like hysterical interjections. Are just priceless.
Yeah, he was just a joy to play, because I don't feel like I'm in character when I'm doing him. You just go into a mode, and it's like you don't have to sort of fire yourself up into any. He's just a lot of no. Yeah. Nope. I don't know. Maybe.
Yes.
And bless him, he's been on it three times. And the funniest, the other day, for the first time ever, this guy came up. He went, "All right, mate." He goes, "Yeah," because we were on the Fire Show tour, and he said, "Love that Brian Pern, love it. It's absolutely brilliant." He goes, "It's hysterical. I don't know what all that stuff is with the other bloke. What's his name? One from Genesis. And when he keeps coming on." He goes, "Don't know what he's doing." He comes on, doesn't he, with a bike and all that. Don't know what all that's about, but I love the show.
Did you just leave it? You didn't?
Yeah, I left it.
No.
I left it.
I wanted to quote actually from an interview that you and Reese gave. I mean, I don't know. I mean, when Brian Pern was still, I mean, may have been around one of the first series, but Reese says a lot of those rock stars who are very intelligent, wealthy, etc., have still got their brains and can play proper music, are more interesting than the one-note Spinal Tap thing. That's been done so well, we've avoided anything Spinal Tap, really, because it's not really in the same world. So I was interested to know, did you have a conversation early in the story of Brian Pern where it's like, you know, we've got to kind of avoid the Spinal Tap cliches?
Yeah, we did do that. We did talk through that. But I mean, Reese would come up with me starring in Triangle, or lying down on deck with my bum out. So there was, you know, for every bit of, you know, we're not going to do that, there was something a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a bit stupid.
I mean, unavoidable, isn't it?
But I think the good stuff was just talking about just the interviews and the things like changing the names of the interviewees, like David Baddiel, and you put John Terry from Chelsea.
Yes,
or whatever, all that stuff. I think it was the BBC4 rock documentary. We had such a massive trove of an archive to take the piss out of, basically, because they are quite similar, and all the mixing desk people. I said, we've got to have the mixing desk guy with a chair that's not, just to keep going like that all the time.
That was Matt Lucas.
Yeah.
Audio engineer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Audio engineer.
Were there ever any issues with, because there are bits of footage where obviously you're putting a completely different vocal track into the person's mouth. And I mean, nobody ever objects to that.
He knows about that
yeah.
stuff, because often I would say, "We allowed to do this and we allowed to do that," and he said, "No, it's fine.
It's fine. It's the BBC."
Yeah. But it was great to have Pete Gabriel actually appear and kill me every week, every sort of series. That was the highlight. And my favourite was the one from Longer Friday, when he gets me in the back of the car with a gun. I mean, how we got him to do that, I don't know. We only had one take.
Right. I mean, we chose to make Genesis and Peter Gabriel the featured artist on the Rockspat Page's homepage for obvious reasons. So there's kind of early pieces about them. They've got kind of priceless quotes in them. Actually, the very first band I ever saw that I had paid money to see was Genesis at Lewisham Town Hall with Lindisfarne supporting.
Wow. Not the cinema.
No, Lewisham Town Hall. I think it was the last date on that Charisma Records tour. And interesting, this is a weird little bit. I went with my friend Shane McSweeney, who lived in Blackheath, and his younger sister sang backing vocals on Cool for Cats. So that's some sort of weird connection between Squeeze and Genesis. With me going to Lewisham Town Hall.
Were you a Genesis fan?
No, I was actually, even more embarrassingly, really, a Lindisfarne fan. I bought Fog on the Time.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
I hated
I was
Genesis.
never a Genesis fan.
Yeah.
And that's why, if you look at the show, there's not that much about Genesis. He does say, let's do this bit and that bit, and the obvious comic things,
Well, there's a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Let's not be disingenuous here.
But I was always, because it's all right for me, because he just goes, "Oh, we'll do this, it's fine."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, you can't do that, you can't do this." Because he would just get behind he once had a sort of interview with Paul Weller and thingy from Style Council.
Yes.
A breakfast TV interview, and he started messing around with that and making Paul Weller look really sort of stupid. I went, "Please don't do that." I only met him once, and we had an argument. So,
Paul Weller will ask you to step outside.
Exactly.
He wasn't the guy who punched you in the face and
No, he wasn't. No. I think it's quite a funny story, actually. He basically, I had said something about one of his albums. I met him somewhere, and I said, "I've got the album." He said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "It's all right." He went, "All right," and sort of drove off.
Yeah.
And someone said, "No, he's called the Elephant. We call him the Elephant. You can't say that. You just can't say. You've got to go, oh, it's brilliant, And he doesn't like it otherwise."
No, I think he's rather humorless individual personally, but we won't.
The less said about him, the better.
I do want to just. The cameos are in
it's
the
amazing.
the number of people you got in there, and just how funny so many of them are. I mean, particularly wanted to mention Michael Kitchen as he's so believable as just an absolute.
Yeah, well, Reese is always a massive fan of his and a fan of
He's an amazing
Polikoff.
actor. Yeah,
and so we were great because we were complete opposites. I think he enjoyed the writing of it. He enjoyed being in it because it was totally different to anything he'd done.
Yes.
And he loved playing the character because that is him, basically.
And how great was Nigel Havers?
No, I know.
As Tony Peblet.
Exactly. But I just had this
Nigel.
vision of someone going, "Can't we have all these bloody roadies, mate? Can we have a couple of birds with their arses out?" I just thought that is Nigel Havers, had he been a roadie.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with Reese, and that's was nice is that they do tend to use the same people always in everything, and there's so many good actors around. And it's good to get them playing against type as well as much as possible.
One of the things that's nice about reading those old Genesis pieces, the early ones, is that it sort of underlines the fact that what you do really well as Brian Pern is capture the sort of slightly plaintive sincerity of the whole thing. Like when you read those quotes, it's just kind of like there is a sort of, I don't know if it's naivety or what it is, but there's just kind of sincerity really shines through that, and I think that's important that Brian Pern also, even though it's a comedy character, it feels sort of somehow sincere.
Yes. Yeah. In the second piece featuring, which is John Swenson from Crawdaddy in about 77, I think, Gabriel actually sort of, quite self-deprecatingly says that, at Charterhouse we all took courses in pretentiousness.
Yeah.
So he's self-aware enough of the kind of, it's always teetering on the edge of slight absurdity, isn't it? The whole Genesis thing.
I mean, you call your band Genesis to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. There's some Genesis that I don't mind, I have to say.
No, I don't mind some. I don't. In fact, I even like some of the Phil Collins stuff, which is be careful.
We just keep steady on. Paul Weller will come in a minute.
Yeah.
But we talked. I remember we talked to Daryl Easley about not only Dr. Phil, but of course Peter Gabriel, and we were just talking about what a kind of curious character Peter is, isn't he, really? I mean, he is, as you say, very shy, he's very thoughtful.
Yeah.
He's not some kind of maniac extrovert like most
No, I mean,
rock stars.
when I met him, Reece said, I've got tickets to see Peter Gabriel. I said, I'm going to be, I don't know what to say to him.
Sure.
Because it is a bit weird. Because as we were through the rooms, we were with Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and someone said said, does he like it? And me and Eric said exactly the same time, he has to. No, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you can't.
He can't, doesn't he?
Have a
apparently,
hissy fit
yes.
back.
Apparently, his girlfriend didn't like bits of it or something. I don't know. Listen, I don't think he thinks about it that much.
Peter
anymore.
never said anything that sort of betrayed slight
He
feelings of hurt.
When we went and met him backstage, actually halfway through the gig at the O2, and he went, "You bastards." I was literally going, all right, because he's tall. I thought he was going to be one of those sort of quite small, handsome men, but he's actually as tall as me. But he good looking fella. I was quite.
He's got it all.
He's got it all.
He's got it all. It's not, like you say, deserves to be sort of lampooned. I love. It was funny this morning. It reminded me of Paul Whitehouse as Pat Quid. Of course, it's just absolutely brilliant. There's a story this morning about Dave Gilmour's obsession with carpentry. And I thought, this is a perfect timing.
Climbing up on Salisbury Hill, I could see the city light. Wind was blowing, time stood still. Eagle flew out of the night.
One band that probably can't be cited as an influence on Brian Pern is Steely Dan,
No.
you mentioned earlier. Unless you're going to tell us there's some sort of relationship between the life
I don't think that they ever supported. I did read somewhere that Slade supported Steely Dan.
I think that is possible. In America, that is possible.
Yeah. Which I just think.
Mark saw them at the Rainbow in
74.
74.
Yeah.
Who were they? There was a supporter.
I can't. Oh yes, Kiki D was the supporter.
Kiki D.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I saw the Bad Night because the second night was recorded and they were distinctly better than the night I went to. And I did the absolutely fatal thing. I shouted "boogie," and Donald Fagen stopped and looked up at the audience quizzically and went, "Huh?"
Oh no!
I mean,
The man, it's like an H.E. Benton cutting. The man who shouted "boogie" at a Steely
man
Dan
who
concert.
Yeah.
well, yeah, because they were absolutely
the
opposite of a
Bateman.
boogie.
Yeah, God, yeah. I love Bateman.
But I mean, they were roping. Interesting in this audio interview that we're going to talk about. They're talking about really enjoying playing live at the time of this interview. This is 2003.
Yes.
And how much they hated playing live back in the day. And they said it's very much about, first of all, having a whole lot more material and also having the musicians who can actually pull that stuff off.
Yes.
And it's like two entirely different experiences they had.
Yes. Who is the interviewer?
Oh, it was a certain Barney Hoskins.
That's the chap.
I believe.
Who's he?
No, it's great. I mean, we can listen to the first clip in a sec because they talk. Because you were obviously at that point you're writing your various LA books, aren't you?
I think I was researching, so it was really handy just to get their take.
Absolutely, and so we'll listen to we get their take on their time in Los Angeles,
their relationship with that whole LA
They were in
scene.
Los Angeles for quite a long time, weren't they?
They were.
But they were a different animal altogether, and a different.
They were East Coast guys, who'd been to Bard College and were super bright and all of that, and super cynical.
You could say that, but Jackson Browne was an East Coast guy in that respect.
When he moved,
but he became an absolute exemplar of Los Angeles. In a way that they would have always foreigners.
I think that's right, and I think. Well, listen. Let's listen to this. I think it's Donald speaking first.
Drive west on Sunset to the sea. Turn that jungle music down, just until we're out of town.
We were pretty isolated, I would say. Socially speaking.
We were shut-ins, you know. It's just that instead of being shut in our home with Meals on Wheels coming, we were in recording studios with, takeout food from Dolores or whatever the hell it was.
Because after a while, we were living at the beach in Malibu, both of us were renting houses and recording in Santa Monica or West LA. So we really got into Burbank or that whole scene.
Right.
I remember
Topanga. No, I never did. I lived in Laurel Canyon for a while. Yeah.
I remember Don Henley came to a couple sessions just to hang.
Right.
A couple times. No, he sang.
He sang on
he
something.
sang on. He also helped us out with some background.
City.
Babylon sister, shake it. Babylon sister, shake it.
Yeah, so
you keep it hanging.
it is interesting because they were sort of fish out of water in a way in LA. They were misfits, but they started like writing about Southern California.
I mean, in a way, you had to make the sort of records they were making. You had to be in LA because that's where most of the really good players were,
and probably the best studios and audio engineers.
Though famously, of course, their audio engineer, they had the disaster with Katie Lyde, where basically the Dolby system, whatever it was, didn't work. The Dolby. And I'm surprised that they've never been able to resurrect those tapes and find a way.
I think it was too late by now. It's sort of been damaged. But, can we let's ask our guest how did Steely Dan come into your life?
They quite late. A friend of mine played me some of their stuff, and I sort of became obsessed with it immediately. Do you
remember what it was?
It was
which album or albums?
It was Reading in the Years.
The first album?
Yeah.
Can't Buy a Thrill.
Yeah, Can't Buy a Thrill.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't remember becoming obsessed with them to the extinction of all other music. I mean, I still did listen to other music, but it was a combination of that sort of his very human voice and the sort of jazz funk, the smooth jazz funk, which I didn't really know much about, and I would never listen to normally. I just think they went really well together, and I loved all the strange names, just that the worlds they created. Special delivery for Hoops McCann.
Yes.
And me and John Thompson, John liked the Fez, because John was really into jazz funk, but we went to Florida and I just played them solidly the whole time. Like literally the whole time. I wouldn't let him. But there's the hotel they stayed in.
Oh, fantastic.
But my claim to being a Steely Dan character is
You are a Steely Dan character.
In one of their songs, perhaps, was that I basically got, when I first did comedy, I had a little council flat, and I started earning all this money, so I got these very expensive wooden window blinds and a really good amp and a really good tape deck and little tiny speakers. And then I would listen to Steely Dan over and over again, but then I didn't pay the rent, so I ended up being evicted. Which I think is it's a sort of Steely Dan, the sort of thing that happens to a Steely Dan character, isn't it?
Brilliant. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about the interview.
I mean, the album Everything Must Go is their current record at the time, which oddly enough is a record I'm not sure I've actually listened to. Everything Must Go.
Always time. It's never too late.
I should do. Well, I mean, my relationship to the others albums in a way that I really loved the first three albums. I found them cold after that and couldn't listen to them for a great chunk of time, and in my old age returned to them, things like
as
Asia.
You got cold
as I got colder.
Gaucho is on its own in that way. I find that it's too smooth.
I still don't like Gaucho, but anyway. So and they're talking about they talk about their record label changes, ABC, and they're very funny about ABC.
Very, very
and then they
funny.
talk about sort of the subject matter of their songs, and it's really interesting because they talk about Miles as being the new America, and that Everything Must Go as a song is absolutely sort of about that. And they talk about 9/11. The Iraq War is literally just a month or two away. It's March 2003, and they're very interesting about all this sort of stuff. It's a really interesting interview. They talk about Walter's lead vocals and Slang of Ages, which is just very funny because he'd never sung on a Steely Dan Steely Dan song before, so this is the very first time he'd done it.
He'd made a solo album, but he hadn't taken the lead vocal on.
And then, so as part of this discussion about what they write about, they talk about this ability to combine, as they term it, the vulgarian and the highbrow. Let's listen to this.
Special delivery for Hoops McCain.
This is very far from old Vartage, what you're kind of looking at here, and what you... I think that's right. Well, I think part of the reason that we were sort of able to slip through the cracks and get in the door, put it that way, in the first place, was because you could see what we did at that level, and it meant something like that. It was a sort of a mildly humorous, palatable sort of thing, and it wasn't necessary to know or suspect or be troubled by anything beyond that level. So I guess we're still essentially... Although
I was also lucky that we had this just kind of populist taste.
Yeah, we have, such
beat
a
music or whatever.
rich vein of bad taste that goes along with our
kind of a
good
bad taste.
Yeah,
really.
so we've been able to combine, real Bulgarian, high Bulgarian stuff with low highbrow stuff, unique blend.
Or whatever.
Although we
I love that in an English accent. Fagen goes, or whatever.
They must have quite liked the English and an English view. Not so much Slade, perhaps, but they must have liked talking to you, I think, as opposed to...
That's about the third time you've interviewed them.
Well, it was the third time that I'd interviewed Fagen, and the second time that I'd interviewed them together.
I can't believe I'm actually doing this. This is the most muso thing. What did you do today? I went and sat in a room with Barney Hoskins.
You're going to walk out
makes
now.
me... I listened to them, the thought of them being presented to record company execs, and the execs trying to get something out of them about the album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what fascinates me.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, to me, they were like one of the great comic double acts.
Yeah.
They just made each other laugh throughout,
which is fabulous.
The interview,
which is
a joy. They really were
at
great
that stage
friends.
to still be great friends after
to be great friends. They really.
I think
were.
they had their breaches at times,
Sure.
but
I don't think they ever fell. I think Walter had a drug problem.
That's right.
That's probably the result of living in Los Angeles. It was inevitably going to happen.
Yeah.
And there was a tragedy where his girlfriend overdosed and died in New York.
That's right.
So there was a very dark period, which when you met him, you couldn't really imagine. But
one of the classic sort of rock and roll tragic things, isn't it? Someone being found dead in your house.
Yeah.
His girlfriend falling out of the window. That's another one.
Yes.
It's like...
any more you can think of.
Yeah. But he went to Hawaii, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, he ended up in Hawaii and just became... I mean, the times... I mean, you would never have imagined he'd had a drug problem at all. He was really quite sort of straight in a way, and leading this very mellow life in like Maui.
Yeah, I love Donald's quote when he says, "So Walter's dead, and I have to deal with that."
Yes.
That's really. That's
and then to carry on playing live.
No, and I saw them last year or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
At the Wembley SEC.
Wembley. Right. Was that with the Eagles?
No, that was with Steve Winwood.
Okay, right, yeah.
And then he was like so not like I expected him to be. He was all dancing about and laughing his head off and playing the thing. Me and John were really sort of shocked.
The exact opposite to when I saw him in '74. He sat behind the piano sourly all evening.
Yeah.
And they had that. Who's that guy who sang on the first album?
David Palmer.
I think he was with them on that '74 show.
Well, it was I mean, I don't know whether it was him or Michael McDonald. Whether Michael McDonald was already.
But anyway, I mean, just to wrap this, just to wrap this bit up. The previous album, you remind me of the name. Of
Two Against Nature.
Right, Two Against Nature. They won a bunch of Grammys, which just surprised everyone. Everyone else was expecting Eminem to win the Grammy that year, and they won it. Let's listen.
Yeah.
It's really pretty wonderful because even though we won awards, the program had been already created that night and organized around the idea of that Eminem was going to win. The great story this was, And so for us to win the awards, like, kind of left everybody with like, what? I mean, you know, when you win an award,
everybody off, really.
yeah, just sort of, and you know, you win an award and they drag you around the guts of the Staples Center being interviewed and having your picture taken, and you're in front of, you know, whole bunches of guys, and like all of these people were like, you know, what?
You know, most of the press there
Not these guys again.
Well, also a lot of the press there weren't even sure exactly who we were.
They weren't sure who we were. They didn't care.
I'm
you know?
sure it was perceived mainly as some kind of weird, you know, dinosaur boat, some kind of a, you know.
Well, in
it probably was.
important ways, I think it absolutely was. You know, it was sort of pointless to give us the Grammys.
Yeah, right.
You know, the initial sort of.
You know, it would have meant so much more to Eminem to get the Grammy than it meant to us. You know.
Maybe we should send him our Grammy.
Yeah, you're right. I'd go for it. You know, let's do it.
Well, I do. So fuck him and fuck you too. You think I give a damn about a Grammy? Half of you critics can't even stomach me.
That's fabulous.
That is fantastic.
I mean, I just love the fact that they just do not take themselves or the industry or the Grammy Awards seriously at all.
What year would that have been? Which Eminem record was it that got beaten by Steely Dan?
Good question.
Marshall Mathers?
So it would have been 2000 or 2001, the awards. Two Against Nature came out in 2000. So it would have been the Marshall Mathers.
I guess probably would be, yeah. Which is kind of retrospectively astonishing that didn't win the Grammy.
It is extraordinary.
They should send him.
If you're listening, Don.
I remember them saying, Donald saying, you know, you have to be careful with these things because they just want to sell all the back catalogue, so they give you an award. You know,
yes,
so they can resell everything on CD. But they've always said that, haven't they? They've always said, "Thanks, CD buyers."
Yeah,
you know, you bought all our records again.
Yeah.
Because actually, there's some of the few records that actually benefit from being digitally remastered.
Although he did say the other day as well, digitally remastered for iTunes stuff. He said, haven't we already remastered it? What the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah. Do you still listen to them?
Oh, yeah.
I actually think that the Donald Fagen's solo album, Nightfly, is the best Steely Dan album ever.
That's great. That album. I love that album. The Sanka Condos is good, but I've never, and I want to, I'm sort of leaving them, a bit like Gaucho. Everything Must Go, and the other one that came out before that.
Two Against Nature.
Yeah, those two I've never liked. So I'm sort of waiting to. I'm looking forward to this period in my life where I'm going to get them suddenly.
I don't like the sound of them.
No, I don't.
The snare drum sound,
the pittery patty stuff.
Yeah. But I still think like there's something like Cousin Dupree.
That's good.
It's just
it's fantastic. Roger Nichols, their old engineer, he had a column in one of the music mags, the American music mag, and he'd say Steely Dan day 300. I'm moving the snare drum back in kind of nanoseconds in the track. You know,
his daughter found that track, didn't she?
Oh, the second arrangement. The second arrangement was the great
is not
Lost,
that good.
No, it's not. I never really understood the fuss about it.
No.
Really, but I mean, I do really. I mean, to refer back to what you were saying, I am a huge fan of Gaucho. Not every track on it,
no.
But to me, part of the point of Steely Dan was the sort of cold perfectionism.
Yes,
because it was sort of like it was anti everything that was sort of bogus about rocks. Heart and soul of rock.
What's kind of interesting about Katie Lied, which I think is a pretty unsuccessful record.
It's not. It's awful sounding. I don't like it.
But also is because they were actually, that's where they're on the way to what they were doing in Asia and things like that, musically. But they weren't quite pulling it off. Like the awful song Dr. Wu, who they talk about in this interview as being one of the things they've never played live because they hate it, basically. Where they hired Phil Woods. Who phones his fucking solo in? It's the most disinterested solo you could imagine. He's probably sitting. He's fucking
phoning in. Just taking the money.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I just don't listen to Katie Live, but I do think Asia is.
Asia's fantastic.
I like Dr. Wu. Fair enough. I like the lyrics too. I think the Biscayne Bay, where the Cuban gentlemen sleep all day.
There are bits of Gaucho that I really like as well,
Yeah.
actually, I have to say.
But I think
Hey 19...
David Crosby really pushed
exquisite. Hey 19 is one of my favourite Steely Dan songs ever. It's just like it captures that really sort of arch, that high-low thing
The
for me. Really
Vulgarians.
Exactly. I mean, lyrically and musically and the production, all of that, it is really polished and really shiny, but kind of crass at the same time, which I really enjoy.
Well,
as a contrast.
It really does just almost kind of anticipate almost the Me Too era, because the protagonist is this older guy trying to kind of seduce a 19-year-old,
and he's so laughable, actually.
And it's like, hey, dancing to Aretha Franklin,
but in the second arrangement, that is obviously what they're about. When you listen to that, you just say there's something really wrong with this.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you put that through their production, if they'd finished it, it would have sounded completely different.
I'm surprised it wasn't called the 49th arrangement, given what you got. And I know you've read Eminent Hipsters, haven't you? I know you're a fan of that, which is a delight.
Oh, I love it.
Fagen's
him just
book.
being so miserable in different hotels.
I mean, his tour diary,
it's
which
just
is the
brilliant.
last piece.
He comes down with I'm just living it with him. When he comes down with a towel and he looks at the pool, goes, no. It's very Larry David.
It is very Larry David. And
he's Larry David.
Yeah.
It's all that when Larry David used to come on stage and go, "Don't bother."
Yeah. Are you a Larry David fan?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Are we sad that Curb is that's it?
Yeah.
Well, it probably is. That's it. Isn't it?
They've done enough of them.
It's been going on for years. I still think of it as a sort of the bastard spin-off of Seinfeld. But
I know what I like about it is when they start ad-libbing, and the ad-libbing is based on whether he finds what the other people are saying funny. Like, if the manager makes him laugh, you can see him really...
He can't stop himself.
No, like the young black guy who my son loves.
Leon.
He obviously really makes him laugh.
Yes.
So they've kept him in.
Yeah. There's Dan-esque stuff in there, I think. I mean, just the whole LA media. Anyway, great talking to you about, one of our favourite bands.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. This is something we have very common ground.
Every few months we have to have a guest who will talk with us about Steely Dan, and we repeat the same thing.
Yeah, because we had a great episode with a guy called Wayne Robbins, who was the music critic for New York Newsday for a period, and he had been at Bard College with Becker and Fagen. So it was really interesting hearing what he had to say about it.
Everything must go.
I just want to briefly mention that by sort of extraordinary coincidence, the featured writer of the week is the excellent Dorian Linsky, who guested on the podcast over 4 years ago, and his new book is like Steely Dan's album, which is also called Everything Must Go.
Yeah, I'm reading it at the moment.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a study of sort of apocalyptic kind of fantasy.
Yes. Well, I mean, the history of the end of people's ideas about the end of the world.
How the world's going to end.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. We're big fans of Dorian.
We are.
The end of the world.
We love the end of the world.
Here, love the end of the world. Back pages, we're big fans of the end of the world.
We're not really able to look back on the end of the world in any sort of nostalgic or retrospective way, but we are interested in it. And I know, listen to Origin Story,
and Oh God, What Now? I'm an absolute huge fan.
More power to Dorian.
Huge fan of both of them. Yeah.
Tell us about some of the pieces you've added.
Yeah, well,
and I mean, just jump in if anything strikes.
Well, this is Motley Crue's Nikki Sixx talking to Sylvie Simmons for Sounds 1984. On the next album, we'll probably get even weirder and stranger as it goes on, and sicker. The more records we sell, the more drugs we get. They think we put on our costumes and put on our makeup and it's fake, but Motley Crue is a way of life. For us, it always has been. We've always lived life to the fullest. We are known as the bad boys of rock, but we do have a lot to say in the music. And lastly, I'm happier than I've ever been in my whole life, Nicky smiles. It's the drugs, Vince nudges him. Yeah, the drugs are fantastic at the top. Nicky's voice takes on a faraway quality. It's Christmas 24 hours a day.
Bloody Motley Crue. Oh my.
They Guns. It was Guns N' Roses that played at Glastonbury, wasn't it? Not Motley Crue.
I can't remember.
Motley Crue were after Guns N' Roses, right?
Motley Crue actually predated.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
They're about 5 years.
In terms of sort of Sunset Strip metal hedonism, they came just before Guns. I mean, it was undoubtedly an influence on Guns.
Oh yes, I remember when I was working there at that time. It was like 1988, and you got all these guys walking up and down Sunset Boulevard with kind of their hair teased into absurd things, That, and then these slightly nerdish guys with a guitar case in one hand and a fold in the other hand, going to the Musicians Institute of Technology to learn about whammy bar techniques.
How to spank the plank.
How to spank the plank.
Yeah.
This week, Caroline Boucher, who we adore here on Rockspec Pages, for Disco Music Echo. She's interviewing Leslie Cavendish, who was the Beatles' hairdresser. Wow. And she says, one day, 3 years ago, one of Leslie Cavendish's clients asked him if he would cut her boyfriend's hair. She was Jane Asher. He was Paul McCartney. And Leslie was a stylist at Vidal Sassoon in London's Park Street. Paul wanted his haircut on Saturday afternoon, which is when Leslie always went to watch the football. I'd never cut anyone's hair on a Saturday afternoon, called Leslie indignantly, so I went to watch Chelsea and then went round to cut his hair afterwards. I went round to cut his hair, to cut all their hair last week. For the first time in 3 years, Paul turned around and asked Linda how she liked it. Do you want it any shorter here and there? I've never heard him do that before. I thought, Then I cut her hair and Heather's. She's an unbelievable little girl. She'll say, hey, Paul, that's a groovy record you've put on. She can't believe all the girls waiting outside the house. I mean, this is kind of like a snapshot of the sort of why everyone hates Chelsea Football Club, because the idea is that swinging London, groovy people like Leslie Cavendish going down the bridge.
Going down the shed.
Tiggy Winkle.
and very last thing, it's pretty fantastic. In the December 77, December after Elvis Presley died, John Morthland, in Country Music magazine, published an oral history of Elvis, which is absolutely, it's got just lots of really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, have a look at it. Yeah.
It's DJ Fontana, the drummer in Elvis's band. He said he had barrels of energy. We'd get off a date at night and have to drive maybe 400 or 500 miles. And he was so keyed up, he'd want to talk all night. So we'd stop the car at a restaurant, and me or Scotty or Bill, or whoever's turn it was, would walk him down the road a mile or so. And then when the other two finished eating breakfast, we'd drive up ahead and pick him up, and whoever's walking with him. We were just trying to wear him out so we could get some sleep. We walked down the road with him for miles sometimes to make him tired. It made us tired too, but we just didn't let him know it. I just have this snapshot of them in the car with Elvis in like 1956, 55, 56.
What are you talking about? I mean, for that long.
Yeah. Probably God.
There must be a fair bit of drivel in there.
so that's my lot.
Train I ride, 16 coaches long.
Jasper, what have you got?
I've got a few things. First of which is Barbara Ellen in the Times on the 2nd of June 2000 reviewing an album called Proud by a certain Heather Small. And she writes, I've had a bit of a soft spot for Small and M people ever since they trounced poor old Blur at the Mercury Awards and wiped the smile off millions of smug white indie boy faces.
Absolutely.
This incident caused such an uproar, you wondered what people were actually objecting to. The fact that M people were about straightforward disco and fun, or the fact that Small didn't fit anybody's idea of what a chick in a band should look or sound like. Mm-hmm. I think it's a really good point, actually. And I mean, of course, I picked it out because she was
my old singer, your
old singer in your band, Hot House. But no, it's a great review. It's worth reading because Barbara Ellen is super on.
That's
on
also
that
fascinating. I remember at the time being absolutely horrified by this revulsion at them winning, and it's because the white indie boys hadn't won, and it felt racist to me. It felt really classist.
Classist and racist. Yes, I agree. Yeah.
She went out with the rugby player, didn't she?
She did. Her son, via this rugby player, Sean Edwards, I just voted him and he got elected as a Labour member for the London Assembly.
I think my connection to this is that I was going to give a Brit away and she got given the job and not me. Now that could make a lot of people bitter, but it's not me. Because I can't think of anything worse than giving a Brit to someone.
Yes.
And just sort of backing away.
Next up, Los Campesinos, First Against Wall in Twat, the war against Twee. This is Stephen Wells, the wonderful, seething Wells, writing in the Quietus on the 18th of August 2008. And it's just, I mean, it's him at his sort of peak kind of just fury. The world teeters on the brink of World War fucking 3, and Los Campesinos, an exercise in reverse-engineered pedophilia, are relaunching their Frankenstein's Monster Twee revival show band with a new fucking album and a tour entitled Wet Your Bed. Presumably a fair warning to the UK's groupies that this is what will happen if you take one of Los Campesinos home. I'm sorry, I misread that. The tour's called Shred Your Face, which appears to be a glassing reference, which makes no fucking sense at all. And he just goes on and on and on, and he's just furious about the tweeness. And one of the details that I love about this is when Swells very sadly died, the year after 2009, Gareth from Los Campesinos wrote a really lovely tribute on the Los Campesinos website. Though I scowled and said he was an over-the-hill idiot when he started slagging us a couple of years ago, I knew deep down a lot of it was true. I did have shit hair, and in hindsight my embracing of Twee was embarrassing, and something I dislike in others now. He hated our band, and I respect him all the more for it. There have been a few things that stood out above others in Los Campesinos' short history that have made me think, shit, we're really doing this. And one of them was the first time I read Stephen Wells ranting against us. That we were on his radar, and that he deemed us worthy of his bile was an honour.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I think that says a lot for the man and how well respected he is amongst his peers and music fans. I think that's actually really
fantastic.
sweet. I really like that a lot.
That's absolutely lovely, yeah. So if David Subs were to fall off the peg tomorrow, I could do exactly the same thing. He was so rude about my band's singles, and we're great friends.
I love that. That's great. And then lastly, Laura Barton's bizarre duel with Van Morrison, where he says, the headline of which is this a psychiatric examination? It sounds like one, which is a quote from Van. I mean, he's just so standoffish. I mean, The Guardian, 31st of October 2019. And it's just, I mean, she's trying, I mean, she adores his music, and she's really trying to get anything out of him. What does he seek in a duet partner? Well, it's not just how it fits, it's how it feels, he replies. What is it that you like about it? I can't explain it. He says his last sentence quickly, crossly. See, I don't need to explain what I do or how I do it. I don't need to. Other people might do, but I don't. To me, it's okay if it's a mystery. Would he, in fact, rather it remained a mystery? No, I'm just saying it's okay if it is. I don't need to probe what I do, you know. His voice is flinty. It comes naturally. It is what it is, as they say. There's not a lot of intellectual pondering about what I'm doing. It's very kind of instinctive and intuitive, and that's it. And he just goes deeper and deeper into this hole, and she's like really gently trying to coax him out of it, and he just is having absolutely none of it.
It's worth pointing out that Van Morrison has been vile to interviewers since 1965 with them. And we've got stuff on the site where it's like, oh God, who is this guy? He's just horrible, you know. Gavin Martin was the late great Gavin Martin was one of the few people who managed to kind of get through all that. And in the late 70s, he interviewed Van for a big feature in the
probably
NME.
Maybe because they were both from Belfast.
You know, almost certainly. And he's actually, for once, he's fairly forthcoming. But he's a really unpleasant man in a number of respects.
I had 45 minutes with him. Asking him about his time up in like Woodstock and Bearsville, and he was actually perfectly nice to me.
Because you weren't asking him about his music.
Maybe, well, I was asking him about like Moondance and his band and Street Choir, because I wanted to know about how the place had kind of had influenced him. But he was, you know, he was fairly unpleasant about other people, but he wasn't directly unpleasant to me. And after about 45 minutes, he had a sort of pained look on his face and sort of said, you know, are we about done here? And I realised the time was up. But I was grateful. I sort of got away light. I think he had fallen out the right side of the bed.
But also, you maybe talk about the making of the records and the people around it, but you weren't asking him about his performance or the songs.
No, I mean,
that's the gist of what the obvious spread out is that he refuses to in any way engage with a conversation about
anything. He tells me he prefers to listen to jazz or classical music, but asked why he favours those genres, responds with a shirty, because that's what I like. Yeah. And then she tries, has he been excited by any of the players on the new jazz scene? And then he forces her to name some, and then he just says, no, I haven't heard of those. It's just like...
I think he's just born unpleasant.
Yeah.
Really, and it's
more unpleasant.
That's one of the greatest artists music's ever produced.
Yeah, that's an album title, isn't it? Born Unpleasant. I mean, and Laura's just delightful.
Oh, yeah.
For
she
anyone,
adored him, and she worshipped him, and it was really painful to read that encounter. Jesus. Yeah, I know. So the more you loved him, the more horrible he was to you. But there we go.
What does that say?
What can we say?
Indeed.
Man the man.
Alrighty, that's it from me.
Thank you very much,
We've been foul about a number of people today, isn't it?
Have we really? We're only sort of giving Van Morrison kind of back what he sort of warrants.
What was was he a pro-Brexiteer? Even though
well, he was a real sort of anti-lockdown guy.
That's right.
He and the aforementioned Eric Clapton toured together. You know,
with a song
Rage.
With a song, a song they'd written against lockdown.
Yeah. So I think they were anti-vaxxers, anti-lockdown.
Yeah.
You know. It's just
the usual shit house,
really. Yeah, I know. Oh well. Okay, we've come to the end of the episode. It's been an absolute joy speaking with you.
I thoroughly enjoyed it
so much, Simon. Anything coming up in the Simon Day world you want to?
No, we've just done a tour.
Yeah,
and we may be doing another one next year. And I'm waiting to be paid for the merch. And I've got a feeling
specific Simon Day T-shirt.
It's not going to come.
How does the merch work? We've sold 39 Tommy Cockles T-shirts.
Apparently, the big seller was the Fast Show mug. So I'm not.
Is everyone on the mug?
Everyone's on the mug.
Yeah.
There's all the catchphrases on the mug. John Thompson pointed out Simon hasn't got a catchphrase on the mug.
Oh.
Give him a
catchphrase. Get less money from the mug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're waiting for...
And that's it. That's all I'm doing.
It's all going in.
This is sensitive territory, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Because you'll get some properly Van Morrisoned. No, I've really enjoyed it. It's really nice to come and talk about music. Always love to talk about music.
Bless you.
Great.
Thank you so much, Simon.
Thanks very much.
So do check out Rock's Back Pages and read the free pieces we've mentioned on the home page this week. If your local library or institution doesn't subscribe to RBP, please suggest they take a trial of the world's largest archive of music journalism. And we, or at least Jasper and I, will be back with our colleague Martin Collier in a fortnight at the home of the great jazz writer and photographer Val Wilmer, while Mark is sunning himself in Crete.
Yeah, I know. I'm heartbroken not to be on that one because I know Val a bit, and I think she's absolutely fabulous.
Should be great.
Yeah.
Should be great.
Really looking forward to that.
And so, on that note, we are all going to say in some sort of harmony, goodbye. That's that's almost barbershop quality. don't push it.
Yeah, not the barbershop I go to.
No more lockdown, no more government overreach, no more fascist bullies disturbing our peace.
That concludes episode 176 of the Rock's Back Pages podcast. Many thanks to special guest Simon Day. The hosts are Barney Hoskins and Mark Pringle, and it was co-hosted and produced by Jasper Murison Bowie. The Rock's Back Pages podcast is part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. You can find thousands of articles, as well as hundreds of full-length audio interviews at rocksbackpages.com.
No more lockdown.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.